Hello, beautiful souls. How are you on this beautiful Tuesday night? I am sending out my very last invites and somehow need to find a way to mute my notifications. Welcome, 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 welcome. Happy Tuesday. I hope your week is shaping up to be the most amazing week ever. Oh, yes, let me do that. I'm getting messages. So I am loving July. July has been absolutely amazing and full of growth and expansion and a lot of joy and a lot of reflection. July has definitely been a month for reflections, but I'm really excited today to dive into the topic of a little bit of what happens in one particular area after the soul's experience with the physical body is coming to an end and it parts between the veil to places beyond that. I'm really excited to talk about the place that we often refer to as purgatory, and I call it the waiting place. If you are joining me live, thank you so much for being here. If you do not know who I am or what I do, welcome. My name is Amanda. I am a spiritual intuitive facilitator and mentor. My specialty works in the genetic frequency light code of the human for its divine expression to take root in the body. And I have the ability to perceive not only those cells and genetic code, but also beyond that into the energy of thought and emotion, into the spiritual lineage, the soul source sounds, and interdimensional beings. And I use all of that awareness to allow healing and activating to come through my body for other people. I love to work with light workers and healers in the world, using the term healers being anybody who considers themselves healers for themselves, their family, or even beyond that. And I, of course, love working with entrepreneurs, talking about the energy of business, of their business, the spiritual alignment of business and practices, and all these juicy details. So I get on here and I love to do lives talking about my experiences and some of the things that I have seen and done in the different frequencies of experience that I have the ability to perceive. And so I like to get on here and facilitate those types of experiences and share with you what I experience and how it comes through. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I can see the chat. Let me know if you can hear me and see me and that everything is coming on clear. Hello, Diana. I'm so happy you're here. Yes, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat and I will answer them here live. And it doesn't just have to be about purgatory. We can talk about a few other places as well that I have had experience in, some of which as they were happening to me, I couldn't believe they were happening until I had that feedback of, wow, that was a real thing that happened to a person. Like, that's how I've learned about a lot of experiences, is through communication from the other side into this realm of reality. And it's been very eye-opening. So I'm so happy you're here. I am going to dive right in, and I definitely want to start by saying that these are my personal experiences and only like one aspect of the infinite possibilities of what happens when our soul chooses to move on from this physical experience, which tends to be very temporary, and the body likes to go back to being matter and feeding and fueling the planet. And so we're in this paradigm of aging and life and death. And I like to speak a little bit about the reality that we are infinite beings in a physical form to have expression. But again, this is all based on my experience. I encourage you to seek out experiences that validate and uplift and brighten your personal experience of spirituality and life after death and how that feels for you in the way that you walk in the world. So this is just my perspective from my experiences. And I'm excited to be here and share them with you. So without further ado, like I said, my name is Amanda. Some of the experiences that I'm going to be sharing today have happened to me over the course of the last 14 years. I have had the ability to see interdimensional frequencies my whole life, even when I was a child, but I didn't really lean into the ability to do that until I was in my mid 20s. And then the experiences just kind of rolled in together because I was embracing it. I was no longer pushing it away. One of the things that I learned early on was that our body was not who we are. Our body was just a tool. It was a gift. It was an expression that we chose to come in and experience. And I was able to bring my perception to the higher consciousness that says, you're the soul. Like, you are a soul and you are eternal and you are experiencing humanity. And in that experience of humanity, we have the ability to grow, to develop, to change, to feel in ways that we don't feel in other places. And that was a very powerful message for me, because once I actually could embody the higher consciousness perspective, it's like the world opens up, but then so do the layers of the veil. And there are multiple frequencies of realities. There's multiple places of realities that your higher consciousness is aware of all the time and taking a part in all the time. And our mind just isn't developed or attuned to hearing it all of the time. And there are absolutely ways that you can build those pathways in your mind to have more of that perception. One of the things that I like to help facilitate for people is that spiritual alignment from the human brain, the id, the ego self, into alignment with the higher consciousness to develop that intuitive sense of knowing, to pull you in the direction to have those experiences as the soul and less as I'm just the human in the body. So, one of the experiences that I had when dealing with somebody who was in the place of waiting, and I have three off the top of my head that I remember, and one of them surprises a lot of people, I think. But when I first learned about the veil, the way I perceive it is like it is strands of silk, and they're everywhere. And those strands of silk are all bunched together in a line and creating a wall. But you can push your fingers into the threads of that silk and open the veil. And when I do that, I can look across the veil, and it looks like a painting with lots of different colors on the other side. And it's like they're all happening at the same time, because the veil is part of what helps us in the physical not get confused on the other side of the veil. Because when you open it, there's many places you could go, and there's multiple frequencies of energy, and they're just kind of existing and moving, but they're moving very quickly from my perception, because we are moving very slow. We're very slow here. And time on the other side of the veil does not exist linearly. It exists infinitely. It is never beginning, never ending. And so everything appears to be moving super fast, and you have to focus on one frequency in one area to allow that to consume focus in order to step into it. Now, when the spiritual energy starts to leave the cells of the body, it starts to pull out from the roots, and it spreads up your legs through your hips, and you leave out through the crown of your head. It is the last point of spiritual light in the body, is out through the brain. And in that process, you are already tuned in. There's already a frequency that you're connected into. There's already a place that you are aware of that you are going. And most oftentimes, I call them, you have multiple people present at that time from the other side. Many people have loved ones that have gone before them, because we are a very large cosmic family, and they're always there and they're always present. But we also have other beings. We have our angel, we have our guardian angel, and we have what I have come to know as the angel of death. But the angel of death is an observer. They observe the event as it's happening. And I have observed this particular angel multiple times, and every time I have seen that angel, I knew who they were there for, and that person passed shortly thereafter because they are there to observe and witness the actual transition experience. I call him the angel of death because that's what that angel represents. That's what he observes. He, she, they, them. That's what they observe in that time. Now, the place that I interact with a soul in the space of purgatory, I have had an interaction with someone who had crossed over, and they desired for me to share information because they were sitting there waiting. And I did not know what they were waiting for. They didn't really talk about it much. But I was at a point in my world that I actually asked them, "Where are you?" Because this was when I was incredibly curious and everything was very new. And I wanted to know all the answers, not understanding that my brain was not in the capacity to receive the truth of what was going on in that moment. And so the best word that they confirmed to me, like the best word you have for this is called this world. This frequency is called purgatory, and it is a place of waiting. And they were waiting for a particular person to also cross over out of the body so that they could go to where their destination was together. And I thought that was really beautiful because I had never heard of that happening before, because my understanding of purgatory was very Hollywood. It was very over sensationalized. Oh, I've gone through a lot of trauma and I'm here to seek revenge or bring justice and things like that. And that wasn't this experience. This was like, no, I'm here and I'm hanging out and I'm waiting and I'm watching. I very quickly realized as I dove into meditations with my consciousness, bringing me into the place of what I've come to know as purgatory, that it is a frequency that holds no animosity. The emotions experienced in purgatory is very blah, but also there's an element of contentness most of the time when they're there. The souls that are there waiting, that are not experiencing that waiting feeling, they're longing to go somewhere else, but they're just hanging out waiting for that to happen, and they don't know why they haven't moved on yet. I've also had that experience. The experience with purgatory that probably surprised me the most, and I want to put a trigger warning out here because we will be talking about someone who was unalive, and it was self-induced, and it was very emotional for me because it was a friend of mine. And I was not in the state when it happened, but when I got home to that state and discovered what had happened, I was really taken aback and I was really surprised. And then as the day unfolded, I was connecting with the family and kind of just feeling things out. I reached out for that person to see where they were in their process because it had been 2 days since that person had passed. And when I reached out, I immediately got a response back. They came to me like the way they looked, the way they felt, the way that I knew them, and they were in purgatory waiting. And I was taken aback by that because I thought they were going to move on to something greater, or maybe that they knew they were going to move on somewhere that they wanted to be. And this conversation was so heartwarming to me and also sad at the same time because I had got to have that experience of asking them why. And he said, "I just thought it would be different." And I said, "You thought what would be different?" And they said, "I thought that I would wake up somewhere else, but I woke up right where I am. And I just thought it would be different." And I said, "Well, do you know where you're at?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm waiting." And I wasn't expecting to have to wait. And I said, "I get that because I think that we build up a lot of expectations when we're living a life and we're going through struggles and we don't always see what's going on in the world." And I said, "Well, I'm here to watch you." I said, "You better tell me when you're no longer waiting." And he said, "I absolutely will." And it was absolutely beautiful and very fulfilling for me. And it's often in those times that I wish I could share those types of communications with the family members. And I don't, because the level of grief is very, very strong. And I rarely know how people are going to receive that information. So I don't say things like that when they happen. I take those experiences for myself unless I am doing a mediumship reading for someone else, looking for some kind of closure that I can reach out and do that. And they had services for him 3 days later. And after that, my phone rang, and on the other line, it was a number that I didn't know. And on the other line was a friend of mine that I hadn't spoken to in many, many years. And my friend on the other side, like this light opened up over my head. And he said, here's my gift to you. I got what I needed and I'm moving on. And I said, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you. I immediately burst into tears. And he was waiting to say his final piece after his services were done. And then the door opened up for him, and he was able to move on after that. And it was a very beautiful place, and he was going somewhere really amazing. And he had worked out an element of his karmic experience in the world. And that was my second experience, communicating with somebody who was in the place of waiting, however brief it was. And I was grateful for him that it was brief and that he got to move on and is doing what he is meant to do as a soul in the universe. And that made my heart very, very happy. After that experience, I decided to dive more into the properties of purgatory and more of the experiences of what it really means, because we have so many ideas about what it's like and what the afterlife is like and where we're going to go. And, it's really made out to be this really horrible place. But in my experience, like, purgatory is the place where you wait with purpose. Like, there is a purpose to it. And so some of the things that I hope that you take away from this today is an understanding and a sense of peace and knowing that, purgatory is not a terrible place. It is a place of consciously waiting, and that not everybody has to consciously wait, but that there is a time and space between leaving the physical experience and moving into the next one. And the time varies depending on the person. So in my experience, there have been 3 common reasons why people are in purgatory. One of the most common is they had a soul contract with someone that they would not go to their place. They have to go to their place together. And so they will wait in purgatory. Now, those people know why they're there and are patiently waiting. Purgatory also allots them the ability to watch and to be a part of the more physical parts of the human world, the human experience, where there are places where once your soul is rejoined with itself, there are places where it's much more difficult to interact on the physical level with loved ones or family or connections or friends. And so it's a place where if you are waiting and you desire to watch over people, you can and be a part of that. It's limited in the sense of they're not your guardian angels. Those souls are not the ones that, agreed to guide you to where they are. These are ones where they get to observe and they get to remind you or get to encourage you to move on, but it's oftentimes through signs. The other most common reason for people waiting in purgatory is they experienced so much trauma that they are having a hard time letting go of the traumatic experience. And so they kind of get stuck in between. That is another common experience. There's not the destitute feeling. There's not the sadness. There's not the resentment. There's none of those human emotions that we would associate with passing from trauma. But they're in the place of like, nah, I'm here. I don't want to be here. Some of them don't know why they're still there. They're just kind of waiting for something. They're waiting for the door to show up and it's not showing up. Some of them are spiritually contracted to maintain contact with the physical reality. And that's a good waiting place for them to potentially bring people to justice or to interact with people. But that's also usually spiritually contracted and they know why they're there. They're there to connect with the people that can do something about that situation. But all of the emotion of revenge or anger or sadness does not exist once we come out of this human body. So it's from a different perspective. It's definitely not vengeance and it's definitely not trying to get back at people. It's, oh, I agreed in my soul contract in my interaction with this person that I would make sure that these consequences happened. And so now I have to finish that before I can move on. And those souls will also wait in purgatory and have the ability to connect with human interaction and the physical world in that place. The third most common reason souls will wait in purgatory, and this one is the far more common one in my experience, is that the family of the person moving on has not grieved enough to let that person's spiritual energy leave the dimension of the planet. What do I mean by that? We are all very energetically attached all the time to the people around us. We have umbilical cords going from our bodies to multiple people at any given time. Those cords don't go away, those feelings don't go away, and the information being shared is largely subconscious and a little bit conscious, but we share that spiritual energy with people. And when we lose that person, it can throw the living into such a state of grief that we cannot send back enough of that spiritual energy to allow that soul to be whole. Our soul experience, our higher consciousness is a finger. It's just a finger on the glove of a very large soul creation. And we can have multiple fingers in a human physical experience at multiple times. And the way that it all comes in is very complicated, and I'm trying to put it in a way that makes sense. But as we pass from the physical, that finger becomes part of the glove, that is a part of the hand, that is part of the arm. And if we do not surrender our attachments from grief and allow that soul, that spiritual energy to go back, then we can hold people in a state of waiting, them waiting for enough family to let them go enough that they can see the exit, that they can see the door. It looks like a portal to me. That's how I would describe it, that they could see the door and walk through it. And some of those souls have no idea why they're there. They're like, I'm waiting for something and I don't know what it is, but here I am, so I'm going to do something. And they wait and they wonder and they piddle and they do things and they observe and they connect with, and sometimes they try to help facilitate the grieving process so that those still in the body, in the family, can get through that part. Humans as a whole find it very, very comforting when they feel or see or believe their loved ones are watching over them or are with them. They can see them and feel them and make it tactile because that sense of loss and that sense of longing is so strong. But those are the three main reasons. They're waiting for somebody. They are contracted to do something for somebody and they're put there to do that, or they are waiting for somebody to let go enough to do that. Now, in the case of my friend, he was waiting for everybody to say their goodbyes. He was waiting to have his chance. And it was really interesting because after all that happened with my friend, one of our mutual friends that he was closer to came up to me and said, I could have swore that I saw him at his own wake. And I said, oh, you did. I was like, you absolutely saw him because he was there to say goodbye and thank you. And this means everything to me. And now I get to go be where I'm supposed to be in the universe. It's a really powerful thing. And it's nothing to be scared of. And it's nothing to fear going into. It is it's not as beautiful as going to your home destination, but it is a really pretty waiting. It's pretty, it's soft. It's not welcoming or inviting. It's very blasé. It's very, well, you're at the train station, you're at the airport. Although I think airports are busier most days. And those are some of my experiences of it. If you feel like you know people or have loved ones in that process or in that place, I encourage you to pray to them, to meditate with them, to make sure you send them their energy and make sure you're taking back yours and release that for them. So if they're in that place, they can fully enjoy going through that door and going to the next place. I have done many mediumship readings for people. It's one of the things that I really enjoy doing because of the sense of closure that it can bring for people. And from my personal perception, I really, 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 truly believe that, heaven and hell are just labels for two other places in the universe that the soul goes. And when I have perceived people that could be perceived as being in hell, they were creating their own and they were reliving their suffering until they can recognize that they're not suffering, that they don't have to suffer, that they can forgive themselves and move to a new place. But it's very difficult to get to, so I don't interact directly. Some of the other things that I have learned about the interdimensional places of the soul and the other side of the veil is that sometimes there are places that can't reach our physical reality. And in those cases, I usually communicate with a guardian angel. I call them liaisons because they step in and communicate between the worlds. If I am unable to reach them and they are unable to come all the way to me, we end up with a liaison situation where someone fills that space and says, I will speak for this person and do the correspondence. So it's been really, really beautiful. I don't take those readings if I can't make that connection. I don't take them. That's a waste of time. And some people don't. It's important that people understand that the soul does not hold on to the body nearly as much as the humans hold on to the soul. The mind holds on to the soul and it doesn't want it to leave and it doesn't want it to change and it wants it to be there all the time exactly in the way that it was when they remember it. So all of that being said, that has been a little glimpse into the experience of my mind and my experience. But again, I encourage you to find a spiritual path and a spiritual connection that calls to you and encourages you to have your own experience of your soul self and your God self, because it's out there and you can hear it and you can see it and you can feel it, even if you don't know that's what you're doing yet. So if nobody has any questions, I would love to tell you a little bit about what is coming up and what is coming up for second half of July and coming into August. We have some amazing energies coming up here in August, and I can't wait for it. The word for August is abundance, and it is everywhere. I can't wait to be stepping into that place. But I do want to let you know, in August, I will not be offering private single session experiences. So if you would like to schedule a reading with me, whether it's about the great beyond and mediumship and connecting with loved ones across the veil, whether it's about genetic emotional memory healing and activating, whether it's about bringing that energy body into balance, stepping into alignment with purpose and vision. If you want to have an experience with me, get with me, send me a message, comment on this thread. I will send you my link because we only have 2 weeks left in July and I will not be opening up space for single private sessions in August. I will be taking on a full client schedule for my mentorship program and activating program through August, September, October. So if you have been sitting on that, now's the time. Get on the schedule. And I would love to have an experience with you. And thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I am so filled with gratitude for each and every one of you that are here with me live and that watch the replay of this. I have so much love for you. And I truly hope that everything you're looking for and feeling called to do in your life is happening for you. Well, a lovely explanation of purgatory. I feel less fearful. And I learned about, as I learned about purgatory through the Catholic Church. Yes. Awesome. I am very curious about the Catholic Church's take on, or your personal experience of what the Catholic Church shared with you about purgatory, and why people would go there waiting. I, of course, was not raised in a religious setting, which I think really allowed a lot of my extrasensory perception to flourish when I was young because I didn't have anybody telling me that wasn't normal or that it was something weird. That didn't come for many, many years later. Mm. So, if you would like to have an experience with me, leave me a comment. I will send you my link and we can talk or look at whatever is on your mind to look at. I will be doing another live in 2 weeks. Again, it will be on a Tuesday. And that live, we are going to be talking about the differences between ghosts and entities and souls and how they interact with our everyday life because we deal with them on a daily basis. And there are some very large, distinct differences. One of the things that I used to do for many years was house clearings. And I used to clear houses and haunted houses. I've actually been privy to three exorcisms in my life, and with very interesting outcomes and results. And I will be sharing 2 weeks from today, I will be sharing the differences of those frequencies, why it's important to know the difference, and how you can handle those energies if you're dealing with them consciously in your life. So you're not going to want to miss that because that one's going to be nice and juicy. I am opening up space for my mentorship program. It is called the Frequency of Miracles, where I do and facilitate energy healing work in the genetic code. And we will be working with genetic emotional memory. It is 5 months long. If you want to know anything about it, I would love to share with you. It is all about healing genetic emotional trauma, healing the mother wound and the father wound, and awakening inside of the cells the divinity of the soul to remember its infinite state of youth and abundance and growth and connection, and also bringing to light the innate memories and experiences that you've already had in your alignment with your mission and your purpose and your big vision. And so if any of that sounds like you would be like to be a part of that, also let me know in the comments or send me a private message. I would love to have a consult with you and discuss what that would look like. And so that is open and available, and we are starting in August, and I'm only taking 2 more people in that program. So that if that's something that calls to you, let me know and we will definitely get you on the books to chat about it. I would love to see how I can help facilitate that shift in your life. It is truly, truly profound, and the feedback that I continuously get for it is amazing. And it really is a frequency of miracles. It just makes miracles happen in and around your life and in your relationships and the way you see the world. So it is my passion to be in that space. I love you all so very much. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope that wherever you find yourself in the universe and the world today, that you see the beauty and the joy within it, and that you can be in that place of joy and peace and abundance and excitement. I cannot wait to see you guys 2 weeks from today, same time, same place, new topic, and I will see you all then. Have a great night.